Okay, these are the supplies we're going to need today. Your tissue blade, a couple standard ball tools, a small one of the slightly heftier ones. We're going to get one solid color of clay. I've rolled it into a little snake that's about a 1/2 inch diameter. As always, we have the little piece of parchment paper to put our flower base on, ball of mud clay made out of scraps. We're going to attach the little plant pieces we're making to that today. So this is what you need. Gather that up and we'll get started. This is really simple. The only reason we roll this into a nice even snake is for measuring purposes. And what we're going to do is cut off fairly thick slices, nice fat chunk, not quite Texas toast, just a good hefty slice of bread. We're going to cut off our little slices. Once you have these little slices, then you're going to cut each of those little slices in half. As you can see, basically in half. You don't have to whip out a ruler. Just get it in there and do it. Get your pieces in half. You're going to need 5 of these. You end up with a leftover. So, now we take our little half, and this is how I do this. I start making a little Pac-Man over here. I bend that together, put my finger on that line that I made in the middle, start squeezing a little bit, just a little pressure, and put that pin towards the back. Now what I want to do is I don't want to pinch with my fingers. I want to make a triangle with my fingers in here, and I want to keep my thumb on it and wedge it into there. See, it's not a pinch motion, just pushing that wedge. Push that wedge. See it make an angle? It's a little fatter. We're going to press it out a little bit. That's too fat, but it's thin to one side, fat on the end. And I've now pushed this chunk into it. Around those edges just a little bit, and that's it. There's a petal. Now a lot of you ask me, how do I get the fingerprints out of these? I don't know how much you can see in the lighting here, but in my table light I have fingerprints from the pressing process in both sides of this. So I put it down on my glass surface till it sticks and doesn't move, and then I gently rub my finger over it until I've smoothed out those lines. Pry it up from the side, flip it over, make it stick to the glass, and then rub until you can't feel those little lines, can't see them. We still have a few little lines on the side, but they're not too bad. But if I see them, I try and mess with them a little bit. Put that point back in there, set it down. You do that to each of these. Make a little Pac-Man. Flatten it down with your thumb. Push those ends together. Take that round end. Just make a wedge with my finger. Press it against that top. See? No pinch, just push. Push. You've got your edge in that wedge. The bottom can look as hinky as it wants to. That doesn't really matter. It's all about getting the point the way... I really don't like this at all. This one didn't shape very nice. Trust me, it'll be alright. There we go. Fatter to one end. Oh look, dinner's done. Do you hear that beeping? Okay. Pac-Man. Smush. Put your ends together. Wedge with your fingers. Put it down on the glass. Now you see, these are funky shapes, but I have that nice little wedge shape in the top, and that's all that matters for these. These are all going to get smunched in the bottom. Do it again. Pac-Man at the bottom. Even there, like, my clay cracked. It's okay. I'm just going to manhandle it. Smoosh it back into a round shape. Put my thumb on it. Get my wedge fingers. Push. So they're all approximately the same shape and size. They're weird on the bottom, but that wedge point on the top is mostly the same on all of them. Make a little Pac-Man. Smush it together. Thumb down. Turn it around. Wedge fingers. Keep that thumb on top. Just push. Push that wedge onto that top. Thicker on one end than the bottom. Down on the glass. Smooth those fingerprints and weird little lines out. They're not perfect, but it takes the majority of the fingerprints out and you simply don't see them. Now, here comes the fun part. We're going to lay these out. We're going to put this one halfway across the top of that one. Take the next one halfway across the top of that one. Kind of going around in an arc. Next one, that edge in the corner, halfway out over that one. Same thing. Here's our weird shaped one. We don't care. We've got a wedge. Put it down halfway over that one. Ooh, big fingerprint. Smooth it out. Now, pick up this whole little roll, and we're going to put this end on top of this end. Bring it around. Gently. Bend gently. See that? You can still see some space under here. Take your fingers, see the bulb here? Put your fingers under there. I'm doing wedge fingers again. I have a wedge finger on here, wedge fingers on here. I hold the flower in the base and push both my wedge fingers together. Rotate, wedge fingers together. Little wedge. Don't pinch, none of this, just this. Until I have a little curled flower. So we're going to do some more of these and come back and show you how to make it into a cluster. Okay, now we have our flowers made. What we want to do is check for any last fingerprints, and I take one of my ball tools, and if the fingerprints are real defined on the sides of these, I'm not pressing, I'm merely laying that ball and dragging along that edge, and it'll break up any fingerprints that seem too prominent on the sides of your flowers. You don't have to be real precise. A few ridges look like plants, lots of ridges look like fingerprints. So you're just trying to smooth that out till it looks like plants. Here I can see a little bit on this petal, and I just get in there and I confuse that fingerprint. I'm not pushing. It's more like burnishing, but without pressing hard. Okay? I did that to each of these. And then what we're going to do is we have these nubbins where we took our wedge fingers and pinched our bottoms. I want a little bit of a bottom on that, but that's too long. I also want them all to be about the same size. So here we go again. This is my dull tissue blade. It's like paring vegetables at Grandma's house. I'm going to cut about half of that little stem off of there. It now has a flat bottom to sit. See? It stays seated on its own. This one's got a real long... Okay, so what we want to do, same thing, like you're paring vegetables. Oop, it dropped. That's okay, because we've been letting these rest, and they are pretty durable. So, cut all those bottoms off. I have 6 of these to start with. I'm going to do a center flower, and then I'm going to ring 5 of them around, and that'll get us started to show you. You can do another ring of like 7 or 8 around that for a fuller cluster. Here we go. Now they're all about the same size and height. They have a nice flat bottom. I'll lay these back. I'm going to take this, you know, the mud clay when you mix your scrap ends together and it makes this fun color mud. Take some of that mud. You see I have about a 1-inch ball here maybe. Roll that in your hands good. Ooh, that's dizzying on camera. And I didn't quite make a ball, I made a little loaf. It's like a little pumpernickel loaf. Set it down in the middle of your parchment paper, and then just go around the edges a little bit. We're making a dome against our paper. We had it started. We want to flatten that base of the bottom out. It's getting a little high in the middle. Compress on the top. See that like big flattened gumdrop. See what we're making? A little half round base. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, fairly round. Work it until you get a nice, pleasing to the eye shape. I feel pretty good about that. Still kind of flat on top. Kind of sloped off on the sides. It's not an exact science. Mess with it until you feel good. You take your first little flowerette. We're going to plunk that down right in the middle. Okay? And then I'm going to take the small ball tool and I'm going to go up underneath and start working the sides of this down onto there. Rotate it a little bit. I'm taking a thin layer off the sides of the flower and pressing it down on. Okay, so that's your center one. Pick up another one, and now we're making kind of like a little flower bouquet. Set that on the side of that slope right up against that center one. Same technique. Going to take that ball tool in. Now I'm really going to work on pressing the edges towards the center flower in. It's easy to get at these, but make sure those are in and press towards that one from the base. Just get it wedged into that scrap clay. Nice and tight on there. Now it has a friend. Pick up the next one. Same thing. Get it right in there. See how you could just rotate it? Doesn't quite fit as nice like that. If I turn it right there, oh, it wants to snuggle up just like that. So rotate it until you like how it looks. Push it right up against the other two. Do the same thing. Take that tiny ball tool. You're going to go up in the crack in here and gently smush some of that into the base on the side, pressing towards there and all the way around into the base. But we want to make sure it's leaning towards the center. Alright, there's our center. Two friends. Grab another one. I can kind of see how that fits, but you know, rotate it around. That's awkward. But that one wants to fit right in there. Oh, that fit like a puzzle piece. You'll know as soon as it gets in there nice. Get in that crack. Up in between here. Right in between the two on the inside. Get in there. You saw I had some clay debris on there. I really get in there and smudge it. Nobody's going to see what happens in there. You can attach that however you want. Be bold. Try to touch these the least amount possible. So we have a center and three friends. Keep going. Take the next one. Tuck that right in there. See how it's almost making this nice domed bouquet shape? That's what we want. That base wasn't sitting on there flat at all. I went in there. Look how bad that's mangled. Just cram that in there. Nobody's ever going to see it because we're going to take this very next one and we're going to smush it right over the mess we just made. Rotate it a little bit. You know what? This one's on the tall side for where I want it. So if you get one, this one seems too tall for the nice dome shape we're doing. It's kind of cut a little off to the side. I'm going to trim that down. Rotate it till it fits. Tuck it in there. I'll tell you what, we go. And it met back up with the first one. And now we have this neat little, oh, this one's loose. I can see down through the top on there. I'm going to go in and make an adjustment with my ball tool, push that in there. Now you can do the same thing if you've damaged this while you were putting it together, fingernail, fingerprint, whatever mark you've left behind. You can do the same thing you did before. Lightly, just smudge that ball tool over that fingernail line, over that awkward fingerprint. And there, what you have is this cute little fluff ball of hens and chick type succulents. I don't even know what this is called. I don't even know if this is a real plant. But what it is it's a great filler plant. When you have a few striped plants or bold, premium looking succulent plants put together and you just need some color in the underground, maybe a pop of texture, this makes a great filler plant. So there you have it. You can make this as small or as big as you want. You can make, this is 5 of these little clusters of flowers, but once you put that center one in, it depends on how big your base is. You can just keep making these and go all the way around until you have a large cluster, and then it becomes a statement piece. But either way, there's a quick and easy filler plant for any dish.